So again, I worked with it until it finally broke down, and I had to get another one.
Have you ever dropped it?
No, I've never dropped it. I usually just keep it on my desk. Any other questions?
Yes. Why are you a furry?
Oh, that's a nice one.
Why am I a furry?
Yes.
Amusingly enough, I was actually more into the transformation scene, so like werewolves and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that just sort of blended into furry eventually. I actually found out I was, a furry, or I was even doing work for the furry community about a year or two after I started posting work. There's, like I said, I mentioned before, Transfer as a website.
Mm-hmm.
I used to post work on there. Another person I knew online, and another artist guy, he actually convinced me to start posting my work there. And it wasn't until one day I actually had a buddy of mine who happened to be the first furry I actually knew in person.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know he was by myself, but he came to visit with a couple of my other buddies, and but yeah, he came to visit with a couple of my other buddies, and he came downstairs. He says, "Hey, what you doing?" I said, "I'm just working on a picture." And he's like, "Oh, mind if I take a look at it?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, come on in," right? And he came in, and he looked at it, he's like, "Oh my God, you're a furry." I'm like, "I'm a what now?" And then he, of course, explained it to me, and I'm like, "Oh, so this is like a whole thing.
There's a name for it.
Awesome! I have a place I can belong." Which I think a lot of us probably go through. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anybody really in here who's like, "I'm a furry!" immediately, and I've always belonged, yay. I don't know. I don't know, like I said, I think personally I'm a very boring guy, so I'm really kind of needing questions here.
How did you get into drawing?
Again, like I said, I used to use it to de-stress. It was something I enjoyed doing. It was something I could do to calm down, relax a little bit, and I didn't really have access to a whole lot. Didn't have a lot of friends growing up, so.
Okay, I think I got one. It's not what I refer to as inspirations, but more like what you've been influenced by. Because it's not something that you really like, but there's been a lot of it, and it can influence your work in certain styles or whatever. Like, what has been the most influential art and stories or whatever that have affected your work?
I'd have to say probably a lot of the old Saturday morning cartoons and stuff. I always kind of wanted to get into like animation and stuff myself. I do know how to do a little bit of animation. Unfortunately, most of it's Flash now, and I don't know what it is with Flash. I cannot use it. I have a friend of mine who was trying to teach me how to use Flash, and I had this thing. I was working on it, and I was trying to get it to work, and it wouldn't work. And he sat down, and he's like, "Okay, so do this, and this, then this, then this," and then he clicked play, and it worked. And so he undid the steps, and he says, "Okay, now you do it." And he watched me do it, step by step, and I clicked it, and it didn't work. And he looked at it, and like, "I don't know, that should have worked, I have no idea what happened." And then he did it again, and it worked perfectly, and then I did it again, and it didn't work.
How did... Define how it didn't work.
It's like I went to click it. It was just it was a simple mouth moving animation. It was a lip syncing thing I was doing, and he had the lip syncing working perfectly. I did this, and his mouth, like his lower jaw, went up over his head, and I don't know why.
Wow.
It's like I didn't even program that to animate anywhere close to that.
Wow.
But that's what it did.
Oh my God.
And he's like I said, he looked at it and all of the same steps, and it just didn't work for me.
Oh.
So I just have come to the conclusion that Flash just hates me, and we have this sort of mutual begrudging respect, and then I just don't fuck with it.
Okay. I just had another question. When did you realize animation could be a career? I
don't actually have an answer for that. I've always just kind of wanted to do animation. Like, I think one of my like biggest dreams in life would be to make a cartoon that just takes off. I think that would be, that would be the cat's meow. I'd absolutely love it. But getting to that point is just where it's sort of, that's the tricky part.
Yeah.
Because you got to get the recognition, and you got to get not only that, but you have to have people to back it. And there's always the danger of winding up one of these guys who gets distance from his own projects. If you kind of understand more what I'm saying here, how many people out here know Todd McFarlane?
What?
How many people here know of Todd McFarlane?
No.
The guy who created Spawn.
Okay. But
He also
maybe,
he also does a number of different like toy lines. Like if you've seen some of these like dragon figurines, they're really detailed.
Okay.
Like very intricate details in them. That's all part of McFarlane toys and stuff like that. He originally created a comic called Spawn. I think it was him and another guy that actually came up with the idea and created it. And he basically established it, and then he started working as this bigger company, and then as the company grew and became more successful, he became more distanced from his own project until eventually it just kind of failed, and now he's doing more business and marketing and stuff like that, and like not drawing at all. And like personally, I think that is like hell to me. It's like, yeah, he's probably making a decent fortune, but it's like, I don't know, like to distance yourself from the thing that makes you happy. I wouldn't want that,
I thought of another question. Anyone else who got questions right now? Okay, your turn.
Right, so you have kind of an interesting business model compared to a lot of other furry artists. I mean, first of all, you're full-time, which is rare, but also you tend to say, fuck it, we're doing it live. Like, you basically have a stream, and you take, like, commission information from the person basically on the stream, just draw.
Yeah, like pretty much the day out.
Why do you do that rather like more traditional, like sketch approval, ink approval, like kind of traditional way of doing it?
Well,
and just kind of a follow-up question, what's like the hardest part about, or the part you dislike the most about the way you do it currently?
Okay. I'm gonna need to break that up a little bit, but why I don't do things in the more, I guess, traditional, as you said, sense. I tend to be able to fly through pictures very quickly.
Yeah.
I've slowed down a little bit, but I also tend to get a little more complex projects these days, so I've had to kind of cut it back a little bit. But I still average off about 3 full pictures a night. The reason I don't take orders, like, or I don't take the information beforehand, is because I like going in with sort of a clean slate in my mind. So I'll read the picture right before, or I'll read the information right beforehand, so when I'm reading it, I get the image in my head, and that's the only thing in my head. So I can really focus on that. What was the next part of your question?
Is there anything you dislike about like the current way you do it?
There is a number of things, a number of flaws in the system. For one, we do encounter a lot of times where people just don't send me their information and leave me hanging, and then when that happens, of course, there's like, I have no information, I can't do my job. The biggest pain in my ass is the people who send me notes to tell me why they can't send me a note. This happens more often than you think.
Yep.
I will get a note in great detail, listing off all of the things that were happening in that person's life, to the point as to why they couldn't send me the note with their information.
Right.
It's like, in the time you took to write all of this, you could have sent me the information.
Yeah.
And I could have worked on your project, and everything would have been happy. But no, that would be too simple.
You want to be anonymous, but they're not being anonymous, but giving you a detail of their life. Like, it's ironic.
I don't know. Like, I actually think I hate that more than the people who get a commission and then tell me after it's done, oh yeah, I can't pay you.
So you ask for payment before, not after.
There is a reason why I ask for it after. Typically in cases like, at cons I tend to take it on the spot because it's a convention, that's kind of how we do it here.
Yeah.
But when I'm actually working at home, I'm not gonna lie, I can be a lazy motherfucker when I want to be. I understand how I can be lazy, and it would be too easy for me to take payment beforehand and then just not do the pictures. So this way, if something happens, then other people aren't out the money, and it's sort of a sense of motivation for me to do the pictures, to do the job. Because that way, like I said, people can not only see and be interactive and have an intricate role in what's being created, because it helps that they're there when the picture is being created as I'm going through it. Because like you said before, with the whole, why don't you do it traditionally where it's like sketch, approval, ink, approval, finish, whatever, right? I do actually do that, but I do it on the fly and I do it in the stream. So I'll get the idea, I'll sketch it up, and I'll say, okay, how does this look? Are there any changes you want to see made? Make your structural changes as the sketch is done, because that's kind of where it's important. Once the ink is down, there's not much I can do. There is an infamous incident amongst my stream, and judging from the smile on her face, she knows which one I'm talking about. I'm not going to name a name.
It's not me.
But there was one large commission I was doing. It was a